Welcome back to AP World History. We're looking at Chapter 23. After Napoleon is taken out at Waterloo by Wellington in 1812, shortly afterwards there's going to be what they call the Congress of Vienna. This is where the conservatives regain control of Europe, and they're going to shape the geopolitical map. There's definitely three groups that emerge from this during this time period. The conservatives want to restore the monarchy in France. They want things the way they were before the revolutions, so they're going to bring back kings and queens and re-entrench the Catholic Church. Um, and they define themselves in opposition to the revolutionary goals. Now, the liberals tend to be more the middle class. They didn't want a lot of political interference with their life, and they want some freedoms protected from the government. The radicals, they wanted an extension of the voting rights of all men. They wanted governments to do more for people in terms of social programs, welfare, old age pensions, job safety. Certainly, they were nationalists. In America, you have male suffrage, at least universal male suffrage, by this time, which is sort of an enlightening idea. This idea of all men having a chance to vote is going to spread to most of Europe. This shows the boundaries of Germany in 1815 after the Vienna of Congress of Vienna redraws the shape of Europe. Again, this shows the boundary lines: France, Germany, Italy, Austria, Hungary, and so forth. Certainly, the age of a revolution is kind of a pivotal point in 1848. There's going to be a number of uprisings throughout Europe. People demanding more. The British are going to make accommodations to the working class. There's going to be revolts in Germany, Austria, Hungary. France's monarchy is going to be overthrown for good in 1848. You also will see revolutions in the Baltic Peninsula, and you're going to see that more and more people are demanding a voice in government. And the working class certainly receiving more of a voice in government. So these conservatives, liberals, and radicals are going to be three distinct groups that we find in Europe. In England, you have what they call the Chartist movement, and this was to promote better health care, mandatory education for the young, more representation. Um, you're going to have popular revolts breaking out in 1848 and 1849 in France, Germany, Austria, Hungary, the working class demanding their rights from the monarchy. And for the most part, in some places they will be successful. Uh, Quickly, the revolutionaries learned that too quick of change breeds instability. So there's going to be more of a gradual change in the politics. Certainly by 1850, a new class structure emerged. The working class becomes the majority of society, and the aristocrats are in decline. In terms of industrialization, this what happened in terms of life and politics. Cities grew, nations are developed. Living conditions, in some respects, comes better, sometimes not. Women are going to demand more rights. One other thing that seems to be prevalent is a drop in birth rates and a drop in the death rate. People are going to live longer, and this is going to put more demands on society. People certainly are going to enjoy bigger homes, have more food, and for the most part, better health care than they had before. Here shows industrialization as it occurred in the 1850s, and you can see that it's centered in England and in Germany primarily. And it will railroads will be built. coal mining, steam engines, breakthroughs in different technology will prevail. The steam engine will be invented to pump water out of coal mines. Louis Pasteur will discover germs and thus improve the quality of life for some. In terms of this consolidation of the industrial order, 1850 to 1914, Benjamin Disraeli is going to be the Prime Minister of Great Britain, and he's going to bring a lot of social changes for the better for the workers. Bismarck in Germany is going to unite the different provinces together. He's going to make Germany, or what we call Prussia, a first-rate country. And so the unification of Germany will start in 1871. American Civil War around this time, certainly over the slavery issue. In terms of at least three men that had tremendous influence on Europe, you would have to say that Benjamin Disraeli is one of those. Cavour of Italy, again, unifying Italy and bringing a more democratic society there. Otto Bismarck, he was the Prussian prime minister, and he worked to extend the vote to the working class people. And he is also going to establish many alliances, which is going to cause some problems later on. The Franco-Prussian War will establish Prussia as the dominant power, and France will be the loser in this war. This shows the unification of Germany from 1815 to 1871. Smaller kingdoms being swallowed up into this greater Prussia and eventually Germany. Also during this time you have Karl Marx, and he's going to say that the proletariat, the working class, eventually will rise up and overthrow the bourgeois class, the ruling class. Most of his ideas of socialism take root mainly in Germany and Italy, not so much in some of the other Western industrialized countries. Certainly women are going to demand more. Emmeline Pankhurst is going to be a prominent leader of the women's movement during this time. Just somebody to remember. Certainly the social issues of the time. People want better medical benefits. They want Social Security. They want to have a chance to have a better life. Certainly, socialism terrified some Western societies, particularly when Russia turns communist in 1917. And here shows another picture of Emmeline Pankhurst, a woman pushing for women's rights. Certainly there was a transition in terms of cultural emphasis. People had more leisure time. They watched more sports, cricket, baseball in America. People traveled, they vacationed. Also, during this time, there was a cultural transformation in terms of how people looked at society. Darwin comes up with Origins of Species in 1859, talking about the survival of the fittest. Einstein comes up with the principle of relativity, quite a physicist. You have Freud, who talks about the mind and how people think. In terms of art, you move away from the more romanticized art and go to the more impressionist and the cubist art that is giving different perspectives to the art, more realism than romanticism. And so these men transforming the way we think: Darwin, Einstein, and Freud. Here's a picture, an impressionist picture. In terms of Western civilization, you see Australia and New Zealand being settled by the British. This is sort of a outgrowth of this Industrial Revolution. Certainly, Canada is going to be settled, be part of the British Commonwealth. And so societies are moving overseas. Certainly, Europeans will come to exploit other nations to feed the Industrial Revolution in their own countries. This is also going to cause friction between nations competing over these resources. So imperialism is going to be a factor during this time. Other countries dominating weaker countries. Eventually, these tensions between nations and alliances and competition is going to eventually lead to World War I. Other nations of the world will be dominated by the Europeans, particularly Africa, India, and Asia in general. Latin America will receive full independence, but they'll be dependent on Western cultures for their existence, their economy. So more alliances, this rise of nationalism, nation competing against nation, and also competing for resources overseas will cause more and more friction and eventually lead to World War I. And you will have the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente, and eventually war will break out in 1914, and we'll take a look at that and all the factors that led up to that. But certainly